Bioengineered food stuff is just inundating our grocery stores. I went to go grocery shopping to purchase the items for making Taco Tuesday. And I could not believe how difficult it was to try to find anything that contained corn that was non-GMO, and how difficult it was to try to find a single box of cereal for my kids that was not bioengineered. Hi guys, this is Aubrey from Crybaby Sentimental Homestead, and I'd like to talk to you guys about gardening, preparedness, and the state of our food supply. In the United States, we are sold foods that are not tolerated in other countries. It is incredible, considering the fact that we always like to say that we have high standards, and that is not actually the case. So, whereas there are foodstuffs which are not allowed to be sold in Europe and Canada, there are things that are being sold to us from the same companies that are selling non-GMO foods in those countries. So first of all, when I went to go grocery shopping to get the Taco Tuesday ingredients, it was even more difficult than it was just months ago to try to find anything that's non-GMO. I could not find a single crunchy taco brand that did not say bioengineered. Every single package I found, I flipped it over and it said bioengineered. And then I looked at the soft tacos, which is flour, and I couldn't find any that were not bioengineered either. And also I'm trying to do gluten-free. So I was like, let's go look around. I ended up having to get tostadas. And on the tostadas, it doesn't say non-bioengineered, but what it does say is made in Mexico. While I was at the store and I was looking at the package, and it says made in Mexico for the tostadas, and I couldn't find non-GMO or not bioengineered. It didn't say bioengineered. It didn't say GMO. And so I Googled it, and I came across information that said that in Mexico, it's illegal to grow or sell bioengineered GMO corn, which, if you think about it, makes a whole lot of sense that they would want to protect the genetic integrity of corn. The Maya ancient civilization actually called themselves children of the maize, or the corn. And it's kind of funny. I used to make a joke with my students about it's children of the corn, like the movie, the scary movie. But children of the corn, the story goes that the gods mixed their blood with dirt, and that was how the Maya people were created. So corn has been a sacred crop in Mexico for thousands of years, and they got it right. The genetics are great. The genetics are perfect, and it's just the way God intended. And it's crazy to think how much we've interfered with the genetics of different plants and crops, and now how widespread it is, to the extent that some genes are going to be lost forever. So I'm really excited to see that Mexico is doing their part in preserving the genetics of corn. I don't know that is the case with every crop in Mexico, but it looks like they have really made an effort to keep corn non-GMO. If you know anything about this topic, please make a comment below. I'd love to explore more. I'm just kind of delving into the research of trying to look at how countries are reacting to the GMO, Monsanto, all that stuff. I'm really not into it. I think there's a place where we start to play God. And it's different between like hybrids. Like you're going to grow a certain crop and you're going to have hybrids, but there's a point where you are actually affecting the crop so significantly that the damage cannot be undone. You might have gotten the point about how much I love heirloom seeds from all of the videos I've made of my Baker Creek seed packages. I definitely love them. I just love heirloom seeds. I love the stories behind them and how they've been saved for all this time, and all, you know, all the stories that go with them. I do prefer heirloom seeds. I sometimes grow hybrids, and hybrids are not like the Antichrist, okay? So you can grow hybrids, that's okay. The purpose of a hybrid is to get the best of two different parent plants. Perhaps you want the disease resistance of one plant and you want the fruit quality of the other plant. And so it's a cross between two plants. It's not a cross between two species. It's nothing super crazy scientific. It's something people have been doing for thousands of years, actually. So heirloom seeds is basically, they've been grown for so long that they're pretty true to seed. The seed that you plant is going to be very similar to the parent plant. When you have hybrids in the seeds that you buy that season, they are going to be what you expect. But if you were to seed save the next season, they would be more like one or the other parent. So they might be, they might have a little bit less disease resistance. They might have a little bit smaller crop. They might be a little bit less flavorful, or they could even be better. Not as likely, but you just never know. It's a hybrid. They're not heirlooms. The generation after that generation is going to be the one that's impacted. Unless it's something like corn, where the seed itself is the offspring. When corn is cross-pollinated, it ends up looking like some kind of Frankenstein creation. Because like even like the size of the kernels, let's say you planted glass gem corn and you planted country gentleman, and you planted some other kind, maybe a field corn and a sweet corn, and something with a really large cob and something with a little small one. Some that have smaller kernels, larger kernels, and so forth. Well, when they're cross-pollinated, the individual kernels are the offspring. Okay? They're the individual kernels are the offspring. That's the plant. The seed, the kernel of the corn is the baby plant for next time. When you plant something like a squash, the baby plant is the seed inside the squash. So in that first generation after that you are taking the seeds for next time, you won't see the offspring. You see the basically the reproductive fruit that's on the outside. The babies are the seeds, right? So you don't see it until you don't see the effect of it until the next generation, or even the generation later. Even with hybrids and heirlooms and all this, I like genetic diversity. Sometimes it's fun to see what happens, right? And that's kind of a neat luxury we have in home gardens, is to just plant whatever seeds you have and see what happens. I am being really picky now because I don't want to get GMO seeds. It used to be illegal to sell GMO seeds to regular everyday consumers. There are now at least one that I know of. It's a purple tomato from Burpee that is a GMO seed that they are selling to home gardeners. I'm worried about this becoming so commonplace that we're not noticed, that we're not given notice of what we're getting. So like I had to really, really search the packages on the tortillas to see where it would say bioengineered or GMO. A lot of times if something's non-GMO, or even like say like gluten-free, totally different subject, but they're even putting like gluten-free like on rice and corn. It's like gluten doesn't come from corn or rice, so all corn and all rice should be gluten-free. If I was the company selling non-GMO corn, I would definitely put it on my packaging. So I mean, I am like a little bit like hesitant to say I'm for sure 100% correct on that corn not being GMO, but it says made in Mexico. Do you agree with me? Do you think that those shells are probably non-GMO or non-bioengineered? Because the whole situation is supposed to be that in Mexico the corn is not GMO. So if they are making the tortillas or the tostadas, I should say, if they're making the tostadas in Mexico, what we're getting as consumers is non-bioengineered. Am I right? Comment below. If I'm wrong, I really want to know and I will make an update. But that's what I was thinking because I really did some research as fast as I could. It took me hours to do my grocery shopping because I was just disgusted looking at every box of cereal and every box of tostadas and taco shells to see that everything had just horrible things in them. When it came to the cereal, I just couldn't believe it. There's just such horrible things. I started Googling some of the ingredients and I was like, oh my God, this causes cancer and this causes this or that. And it was awful. I could not find even the ones that said that they were healthy. Nothing was anything close to being healthy. So cereal is not the breakfast of champions. The whole idea of having carbohydrates for breakfast is not the best idea. I guess it all came about because people started working earlier and earlier in the morning, and usually in the way distant past, whatever you had for dinner last night was your leftovers for breakfast the next morning. That was the way it was for like thousands of years. But then the whole tradition of breakfast foods emerged, and now all the breakfast foods are GMO bioengineered. So if you want to have a good breakfast, like organic fruits and vegetables, maybe you can find some non-GMO oatmeal and maybe have some scrambled eggs, but it's going to be more of a protein breakfast because seriously, all the cereals that I found, I looked at every single box at a particular grocery store, not going to say the name of it, but I looked at every single type of cereal and every single one of them said either GMO or bioengineered product. Every single one. After this very frustrating experience, I've decided that next year is going to be the year of grains that I'm going to be growing. So I'm going to be growing insane amounts, as much as I possibly can, of grain or field corn, which I usually like to grow sweet corn, but I'm going to try my best to grow a nice flour, a type of corn that I can grind into a really good masa. My husband's family likes making homemade tamales, and those are amazing. But I also would like to be able to make my own tostadas and other things to make sure that I am 100% non-GMO. It's going to be hard to grow enough for what a family uses, but it sure will be nice to have some things that I know I don't have to think overly hard on, that it's really what I think it is. You never know for sure if a company is being honest with you on their packaging, but I hope so. So I'm going to be growing a lot of corn, and I do have access to a 5-acre plot of land that's non-buildable that I'm going to be planting as much as I can. Now, I'm assuming that there's going to be deer eating everything, so I might have to do some really rigorous fencing situation. And it's not a property that I can get to every day. So I'm thinking I'm going to do the 3 sisters, lots of sunflowers, which can be a 3-sister, lots of corn, squash, and beans. I'm also going to be growing potatoes, like my life depends on it. So it's really important to think ahead. And when you're looking at the food, the products that we're eating, it's like you can't even call it food. I'm keep saying food stuff and product, because if you're getting it off of a shelf and it's in a can, a jar, a bottle, a bag, it's not even really food anymore. And I feel guilty for feeding that crap to my kids for so long, and they just keep trying to get away with whatever they can get away with. They just keep putting more and more junk in there. They're taking out all the stuff that's actually nutritious for you, all the different nutrients, and all the good stuff that your body is craving. And they're putting on all of this stuff to make it more and more shelf stable, which is important for feeding the masses. But for individual bodies, it's killing us. I dropped gluten for just a little bit, and I'm sure it's not just the gluten. It's probably all the preservatives and the processes that is used when they're grinding the wheat and they're putting stuff into it, stabilizers and that kind of stuff. And I dropped gluten for like a week, and I was not dieting. I lost a couple pounds. I felt less inflamed. I had less fibromyalgia pain. I couldn't believe it. I'm not gluten intolerant, but that wheat products are just so, they're like not what they used to be. And the GMO bioengineered corn and all of that, and the soy, don't get me started on soybeans. Like almost all the genetics on soybeans has been contaminated with GMO. So I do have some seeds that I purchased a long time ago that are non-GMO soybeans, and I'm going to grow those in my garden as well, so that we can actually have those types of items and we'll know for sure that they are not bioengineered. You need to be very careful to keep your seed, your plants that are flowering, from cross-pollinating with other people's stuff. So now that like the purple tomatoes from Burpee are bioengineered and your neighbor can grow them, when you're growing your heirloom, German tomatoes, and you have all these heirlooms that you're trying to seed save from, you can't, unless you can be sure that you are isolating every single little flower that you're saving seeds from. So, like, yes, of course you can eat the fruit if it got cross-pollinated, but the seeds for next year that you're saving, you have to protect them from getting cross-pollinated from the GMO. What's GMO? So that means individually, like bagging each flower, hand pollinating with a little paintbrush, and then bagging the flower so that no other bee or pollinator can accidentally bring pollen from a plant that has GMO, has those genetically modified traits and genetics. So you have to be super careful nowadays. When you're in the grocery stores, I would really urge everybody to push back on these companies. If they can make non-GMO cereals for Canada and Mexico and in Europe, then they can do it for us. But if we keep buying their crap, they're going to keep selling it to us. They're making us so sick, and it needs to stop. And the only way to make it stop is for us to stop buying their junk. They need to just stop buying it and shop the produce and all this other stuff. And really, we need to start our gardens, and we need to be not just, oh, here's my little garden bed. We need to be rigorously growing our gardens so that we literally don't die from the food we eat, and that we don't starve should their crops fail. They are putting all of the eggs in one basket. And if that basket gets a hole in it, we're all going to die. And all of the poor people, all of us lower middle class and lower, we are not going to be okay if their food for the masses should at some point get a blight or a fungus or something, or their seed stops sprouting because they've been playing God for too long. We really need to have a backup plan. We need to get organized. We need to be diligent. We need to seed save. If you don't already have seeds, you need to get seeds, and you need to get them from a reputable source. I love Baker Creek. I get a lot of seeds from them. But you need to get non-GMO, non-bioengineered. You need to make sure that company doesn't sell those things. Because if they are having GMO items, GMO plants, and they have heirloom. And if they're not being good, or if that orchard or that farm is close to a GMO farm, there could be cross-pollination. For corn is wind pollinated. So it's really difficult to stop corn from cross-pollinating. And then there's all kinds of, I mean, you can Google this, how farmers have been treated when their corn was cross-pollinated by a GMO corn. They've lost everything. They besides the fact they've lost the genetics of their heirlooms, they've also are having copyright infringements or something like that. It's like insane. It's like, how do you own the pollen that you let get onto somebody else's corn? It's ridiculous what they've done to India and a lot of other countries by selling their GMO corn really cheap. Then the indigenous people of those areas, they grow it for so many years, and then all of a sudden the companies hike their prices up, and then the people can't go back to their original. I want to urge you to do a nationwide boycott of GMO and bioengineered cereals. And I think if you can do it, please. Because we need to stop the GMO from taking over before all of the heirloom seeds die. If we wait too long, when they say, okay, fine, we're not going to have GMO anymore, the seeds that they had before will have already died. So we need to do it now. We need to make sure that it's heard, that people hear us, that we don't want bioengineered corn, soy, etc., etc. We don't want it. Don't buy the seeds. Don't buy the purple tomato seeds, bioengineered from Burpee. Don't buy them. Don't buy them. If they can't sell them, they won't keep at it. They're going to try to sell what they can sell. And if you won't buy it, they will have to go back to what was before. However, if we wait too long to get this point across, the seeds that people have still, they will not be viable anymore. So it has to happen. Now, granted, listen, if there is a boycott on GMO wheat, GMO soy, GMO corn, there will be a painful period where we won't have those things for a year or two, because they have been growing this in such a widespread manner that they have not been seed saving and being diligent about keeping the heirloom seeds and the hybrid seeds that they used to use. To be able to recrop, basically, that all that space that now is GMO, they're going to have to seed save for a while. There's going to have to be like a reintroduction of those plants, seed saving. So the prices would be much higher for a while on non-GMO and non-bioengineered food products from those specific things: the soy, the corn, the wheat. I feel like I'm missing something. Soy, corn, wheat. A lot of those are GMO. So if we boycott, the prices are going to be extremely high. We might not have those items for a few years. Can you go without corn for 2 years? Can you go without soy or wheat or corn for 2 years? It would be really hard. If you look at how much of our American diets are on those 3 crops, it's a lot. So we need to write those companies and tell them, please stop selling us this crap. Stop selling us all these dyes that cause cancer, all these preservatives that cause cancer, all these anti-caking agents that cause cancer. Like everything like they're feeding us is horrible. They can't go back to their original heirloom corns because they have basically died while they've been growing the GMO corn for so long. The corn that has been traditional in those countries, that has been passed from generation to generation to generation, is sitting in, a jar or a container somewhere, dying, while they planted this GMO crap they got tricked into growing in the first place. And now they can't go backwards. And if they're growing the heirlooms, if they did seed save and their seeds somehow survived, the neighbor is growing GMO and now it's crossing. So now the heirlooms are all ruined. So we need to be super careful and we need to push back. The best way you can push back is by not giving people your money. And that's the very best thing you can do, besides growing a garden yourself. I got a little bit negative on this one, but I'm really frustrated because I can't even go to a grocery store. I can't just go in and out, grab what you need and leave, because, I started looking at like Fred Meyer's. Oops, I shouldn't say a name. Okay, I'm gonna. But that's one of the stores. That's not the store I went to yesterday. But I was looking for cupcakes for my son's birthday last year. And I was looking for nuts, like if there's nut allergies, because there's a kid in his class who had nut allergy, and I couldn't have any cupcakes that had that. So I was looking, and I wasn't even looking for bioengineered, but like every single pie and bakery item that had a label said bioengineered product. Every single one of them. And I'm sure it's because of the wheat. So, it's disappointing because it's going to be so much work trying to do the right thing by your families. The only way you could really do it for sure is if you grow it on your own. So anyway, I guess that's food for thought. We deserve better. Our kids deserve better. We should have healthy, nutritious foods that are safe, that are like, what they're going to do to you. With all the changes they're making in bioengineered food, you don't know what's going to happen in the long run. Like, yes, it satisfies your craving, whatever, and you might have the calories that you need for the day or for the year, but long term, you don't know what it's doing to us at a cellular level. What will it do to us with the longevity of our lives and our overall health? I don't think it can be for the good. If we're genetically engineering a plant to be toxic to locusts, we're eating the plant too. So if it's toxic to an insect, wouldn't it also be toxic to us? It's more toxic to them because they're smaller. And if most of our diet contains all of these products, then eventually it would do the same thing to us that it does to them. I might need to plan a trip to Canada just to go up there and buy some products. I don't think they ship here. I don't know. Comment below if you know of products that are completely non-GMO, non-bioengineered, where you don't have to go to a special store like Whole Foods or something. And I know that I've had some people tell me that they found bioengineered and GMO foods at Whole Foods, and Whole Foods is expensive. Yeah, I don't know the answer, you guys, but I know that we need to keep being diligent and we need to keep an eye on it and we need to push back. You know what I like to say in my videos at the end, but I mean it. Okay, besides checking the labels, be good, be sweet, and grow a garden if you want to eat. I'll see you next time. There's going to be a Baker Creek seed reveal next time too. I got some new packages. I'm super excited. Bye, guys.